These are my best practices for setting up our Microsoft Teams and channels effectively. Today, I'll share with you my 7 part decision framework that can be applied to departments, projects, or even teams for processes. This has been one of the most requested topics from my clients, so I'm super excited to share it with you. By the way, my name's Amy. Let's nerd out. Before we jump in, I first wanted to ask you what's your specific challenge when it comes to setting up your Microsoft Teams and channels? Please drop a comment below with a specific example. I review all of my comments and I will do my best to respond to each of them. To get started, I first want to touch on a setting to ensure that we can all follow along. So here we can head up to these 3 dots on the top right, go to settings. We can pop into chats and channels. So at the top here, I'm in a combined view. So I only have a chat icon on my left navigation. But if we toggle to separate, then you'll notice that I now have a chat icon and a Teams icon. So if you're in that separate view, then to create a team, you'll need to be in this Teams area. But I prefer the combined view, in which case we can navigate to the chat area, and this is where we can access all of our teams and channels. Number one is defining the goal. Like, what are we aiming for here? Now, the goal is balance of simplicity and structure. Microsoft Teams is incredibly flexible, which is its biggest strength, but also its biggest weakness. So, we want to ensure that every Microsoft team and channel that we have has a clearly defined purpose to it. But we want to ensure that we are creating those with simplicity in mind. We do not want to overcomplicate things. When we create too many teams and too many channels, then we create a structure that is confusing. People end up just not using them and putting things where they don't belong. So, everything that we cover after this is always going to funnel back to balancing structure and simplicity. Now that we know our end goal, let's start off with a team. So, when we create a team, there are 2 things that we need to keep in mind, which is the who are we collaborating with and what is the common goal or purpose, right? So, some examples could be maybe a department or a project or even a process within your organization. Some people find it helpful to think back to maybe a folder hierarchy that you would have, and a team is going to be your top level folder. So to create a team, we can head up to this little drop down caret, go new team. And then here we need to give our team a name. So this is going to be that common goal or purpose, whether it is a department in your organization or a project or maybe even an ongoing process. So in this example, I'm just going to call it Team A. Then down below here, I would recommend adding a description as this provides additional context to everyone that's on the team. Down below here, we have team type. Private is generally what most organizations go for. It is a private space for you to collaborate with your team members, but there are some other options there. And then down below here, we have a first channel name. Now, we're going to touch on the first channel in a moment because it is unique. Now, I like to call this general. It used to be called general by default, but now we have the option to rename it. So, we'll provide some more context around naming conventions for this first channel in a little bit. So, now we can go and create our team. Great. So now our team has been created and now we can add members to our team. So this is going to be the who are we collaborating with? So in this case, I'm just going to start to search for my team member, Mike. Here he is. And then now we can see that he has been added as a member. He could be an owner and help me manage this team, but for simplicity, we'll just stick with member. So let's now go and add. Great. So here is our newly created team and our first channel. I'm just going to select this team and then drag it up to the top of my list. Number 3 is, what does a channel actually give you? So a channel is where the work actually happens inside of a Microsoft team. And at the top of our channels, we have different tabs for collaboration. So we have a place where we can have conversations, which minimizes our back and forth on emails. We have a shared tab where we can share files with our team, and that is connected to a SharePoint document library. We have tabs for notes so that we can organize and keep track of all of our notes together. Then we can also add additional tools like Microsoft Planner or Microsoft List. So the goal with the channel is to create a dashboard for your team to be able to access all of their resources that they need for collaborating on that one topic. So in Teams, for example, we have this online dog training team, and this is where we keep track of all of our online dog training courses. So we'll see here that we have that first channel, which is general, and then we've added additional channels for the different levels of the training. In this level 3 channel, we can see at the top here that we have a tab for posts. Now, yours might say conversation, but they're essentially the same thing. So, this is where we can minimize our back and forth on emails and collaborate with each other. We have shared, which is where we can access all of our shared files in the connected SharePoint document library. We have pages, which is Microsoft Loop. We have notes, which is OneNote, and we can click on this plus icon, navigate to apps, and add additional applications. Now, if you want to learn more about the different tools that we can connect with our Microsoft team, then I recommend downloading my ebook, Navigating Microsoft Passages, that I have linked in the comments below. Number 4 is to start with the first channel. So we created our team and we have that first channel, which we've called general. Now, in some cases, that's enough, but if it isn't, then we can also add additional channels to break down that common goal or purpose into subtopics or distinct areas. Now, I always, recommend going on the side of caution here, not overcomplicating the channel structure right away. And usually I would recommend starting with that first channel and then as your team evolves, adding additional channels to it. Now, with that being said, the first channel is unique because it sticks with the life of the team, whereas other channels can be archived or they can even be deleted. So, this is a very important thing to understand as we start to structure our teams and channels appropriately. So, let's pop into Teams and take a closer look. Let's take a look at this projects team. So at Amy's Animal Shop, we have a bunch of small ongoing projects, and this team helps us organize our projects into these channels. So we have our general channel for general collaboration, as well as sharing those general files and notes. And then we've added additional channels for each of our projects. Now, if we want to add additional channels, then we can hover over the team, select the three dots. We can go add channel. I'll just call this project E. I will select the standard channel type so that everyone automatically has access. And the threads layout is more collaborative, so we'll go with that. So here we can see that our new channel has been created, and this is where we can collaborate on that project. Now, when project A finishes, for example, we can hover over the channel, select those three dots, and then we can either archive the channel or we can delete the channel. Now, if we archive the channel, then this will freeze all of the conversations in the channel. So you won't be able to start new conversations here, but we can restore this channel at any time. Additionally, we can make the SharePoint folder read only for team members. So all of the documents that are stored in this folder in the SharePoint document library will be marked as read only, but your team members can still access them. Just going to cancel this for now. Now, additionally, this general channel, if we select that and select the ellipses here, you'll notice that we can't delete or archive this channel. So this channel is unique and it sticks with the team for the duration of the team. So what I would recommend not doing here is naming this general channel Project F, because when Project F finishes, we're not going to be able to delete it or archive it, right? So that's why giving this first channel something generic like general and then the team name can be a really good practice for, ensuring that all of the content there is relevant for the life of the team. Number 5 is to let complexity decide how far you break down that common goal or purpose of the team. So, for example, if we take a look at the marketing department, then we might create a team for marketing. We might create a first channel called General Marketing. And depending on the complexity and the size or the number of people that are collaborating within that marketing department, that first channel might be enough, right? If it's a small team, we don't want to create, 20 channels because people aren't going to know where things go, right? So in that instance, start small. And then as your initiatives grow or as your team starts to evolve, then we can start to add additional channels. Now, on the other hand, if we had a bigger marketing department and we had, a lot of solid, sub initiatives within that department that have a lot of collaboration happening in them, a lot of documents are being shared, then it would make sense for us to break down that Microsoft team and add additional channels. So we might, add a channel for social media, we might add a channel for events, or if your events portion of the marketing department is massive and you're running events all the time, then you might want to even have a team called events. And then each channel might be its own event. Again, it really just depends on the complexity of the main team. Number six ties closely to complexity, which is time horizon. So, generally speaking, if something has a longer time horizon, then it might be best to put that in its own team and then having different channels for, different areas of that main common goal or purpose. Whereas if something has a shorter time horizon, then it might be best to create a team that covers those broad topics. And then we have individual channels for each of the items. Now, kind of going back to some examples here for that projects team that we just looked at with the individual channels for project A, project B, project C, each of those projects has a short time horizon. Now, if one of those has a longer time horizon, that is going to evolve over time. There's going to be more people working on it. It might be best for us to put that into its own team. That way we can create different channels. Maybe one could be for administrative items, another could be for the different phases of the project. So those are just some guidelines in how time horizon comes into play. Number seven is how we can hide channels to manage our notifications. Now, this is something that is overlooked in Microsoft Teams in general. But basically, if we have a team and we have our general channel, and then we also have another channel called events. If you are not actively involved in the events that happen within that channel and within that team, then what we can do is you can hide that channel and that's going to mute notifications. So let's pop into Teams and take a closer look. So we have one of our pet store locations in Nelson, and we have this Nelson location team to have collaboration for that location. We have our general channel, and then we have this events channel. Now, on the first tab of our channel, it might say posts or conversation. We can collaborate with our team members. Now, what we can do here is we can also mention people. So we can press that @ sign. And we can mention specific people on the team so that they're notified, but we can also mention channels. So if I started to type for events, we'll see that this events channel, I can now mention it. So what this is going to do is everybody that has this channel visible is going to receive an activity feed notification. Now, if you are not involved in that events channel and those notifications are too much, then we can select the dots here and we can go hide. So now this is going to hide this channel from our view, right? So now we have a nice and tidy channel structure. We can still go see all channels and we can view that channel if we want to, but it just mutes those notifications and hides it out of view. Now, as a general rule of thumb, when we are using those @ mentions, we just want to ensure that we are being mindful and we're not overusing them to overuse our notifications and cause too many distractions. So this is my 7-part decision framework for structuring your teams and channels effectively. And to grab a copy of my free ebook that I mentioned earlier, then you can follow the link here, where you'll learn how to navigate Microsoft 365 apps with confidence.